company. So I work for an investment company here. We invest in three pillars of the Indonesian economy, which is infrastructure, consumer products and services, as well as natural resources. Work naman is quite nice. It's very professional. The people are very nice. They're very similar to the Filipinos. If you will find it very eerily similar, that the temperament, the outlook in life, as well as the how warm they are. They're very, very similar to the Pinoys, no? So I think even in Southeast Asia, when we've lived in at least 3 or 4 of the countries here, I think the Filipinos and the Indonesians are the closest in terms of how people react to life and how their outlooks are similar. The Filipinos have always had a fairly good, they're viewed very positively in Indonesia. So it goes back to the way the history has been here. In the 80s, there were a lot of professional Filipinos, particularly expatriate managers in financial services. Once upon a time, SGV was very big here. And so there's been a lot of Filipinos, particularly in the 80s. There are some of them that are still around. Then slowly over time that has changed. A good number of the Filipino firms are also established here. And again, over time that has changed because there's been other investors that have come in, and they've also expanded in terms of using more Indonesian professionals in the workforce. So I think very positively. I've never had an issue here in this country, and I think there's always been a warm regard for the Filipinos here. The Filipinos in Indonesia are viewed as very technically and skilled in terms of their competence levels and so on. It goes back to the history here. In the 80s, there were a lot of Filipino managers, expatriate personnel that had come in here, and they were very instrumental in building the human development and capital in the country. At one point, SGV was very dominant in this country. AIM, a lot of people actually, there's a very big alumni network in AIM in Indonesia. So the Filipinos have always been viewed very positively. More recently, it's more teachers. So we actually have a school in our foundation, and when we visited, we realized that at least 1/3 of our expatriate teachers are actually from the Philippines. They're viewed very positively in terms of the language, English. A lot of the, particularly the ones that are national plus schools, they like to have exposure for their children for English. And I think that's where they've seen a lot of Filipinos, particularly more recently, coming in. On the back of that, there's been a lot of Filipinos in different fields. Fast-moving consumer goods, pharmaceuticals, oil and gas. Karamihan are expatriated here by multinational firms, and then slowly they started working with the local firms, and that's how I also came here. I started here with a multinational bank, and then spent 2 years. I was supposed to move to another country, and then started working and talking. In fact, my current employer was a customer, and so we started working, and then after, lo and behold, it's been 4 years. I am actually very happy that he's here. I really think that between the Filipinos and the Indonesians, not just the proximity, kasi pinakamalapit, di ba? But also the fact that in terms of temperament, in terms of outlook in life, we're very similar. In fact, if you go to certain places like Manado, in Sulawesi, you wouldn't find any much differences when you're in Mindanao. So the culture is almost similar. So I think the people-to-people relationships are very important. That goes back to the linkage between the two countries. I can still remember Iaga. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, but when Iaga was fairly big, we were trying to support that. We had some interactions with the Department of Trade at that point in time, and we were hoping that area would have been a growth triangle at that point in time. So in terms of economy, I think the Philippines and Indonesia have many things that are either complementary. So, for instance, geothermal energy as a source for power is something that both countries have very big reserves and resources in. Obviously, the Philippines have been slightly ahead, uh, but I think there's a lot of opportunities to cooperate, to come together, to share resources, and to build this infrastructure. Between the two of us, there's the ring of fire, and there's a lot of reserves and resources. Interestingly, our economic cycles are also at a stage where power development and source of power is very important. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity. My firm last year actually we had an investor from the Philippines who came in. They took a minority share, and we've been working very well in terms of co-investing. Uh, the other things that are interesting at the moment are infrastructure development. So both countries are undergoing infrastructure development in significant ways. In some instances, it's catch up for both. And so I think there's also an opportunity to cooperate. Um, the other item I think is that both economies are very much affected by consumer spending, right? So the Philippines and Indonesia have very similar demographic profiles, very young population, uh, growing middle class, aspirational in terms of its consumerism, but at the same time, the structure of the economies are quite different. So in here, ang resources, so agriculture, mining, uh, is a very big part of the economy. Services, not as much as the Philippines, which I think is the strength of the Philippine economy. And so there's opportunity to work together, to leverage, and I think more importantly also to support each other. Within ASEAN, I think Indonesia is like 35% of the economy, and I think the Philippines, together with Vietnam, are perhaps uh, one of the ones that are very similar in terms of development. No? So I'm really happy that he's here, and I hope that the ties between the two countries are strengthened. So President Duterte, maayong hapon. Magandang hapon po. Very happy and nalipay kami nga naabot ka nga ni sa Indonesia. We're very glad that you're here to visit us. But I think we're asked to give you I think we would like to wish you all the best, that you would be successful in your presidency. Uh, right now, there seems to be a very big opportunity for the Philippines in stark contrast to the rest of the world. Economically, it seems to be one of the few bright spots in the world. And we really hope that the Philippines will be poised for growth and take this opportunity. As they say, carpe diem, no? Let's seize the moment. Salamat po.